All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on a piece of tech that is absolutely fundamental to the modern world, but it's something most people have never even heard of, the Linux Devicetree.
So let's just start with this one big question. The Linux kernel, right, it runs on a mind-boggling variety of hardware. We're talking your Android phone, your router, your smart TV, maybe even the computer in your car, they're all probably running Linux. So how? How does one single operating system manage to run on all this wildly different custom-built stuff?
Well, to really get the answer, you got to look at what things were like before we had today's solution. And it was, honestly, a total mess, a real engineering nightmare, fueled by this Cambrian explosion of custom hardware and embedded systems.
Yeah, I mean, just look at this. The old way was completely unsustainable. Every time a company made one tiny little change to a circuit board, they had to create and maintain a whole separate version of the Linux kernel. Think about that. All the details, the memory addresses, the interrupt lines, were literally hard-coded right into the OS source code. It was a disaster of duplicated code, and it made the kernel bloated and incredibly slow to adapt.
Right? So that just couldn't scale. Something had to change. The entire ecosystem needed a smarter way, some kind of universal language that could describe the hardware separately from the operating system, and that's where the device tree comes in.
So what exactly is it? Well, at its heart, a device tree is basically a data structure. The best way to think about it is like a super detailed blueprint for a circuit board. It just lays out all the components and how they're all wired together. Then, when the computer boots up, the operating system just reads the blueprint and figures everything out by itself.
And honestly, the Linux kernel's own documentation puts it perfectly. It's a description of hardware that is readable by an operating system, so that the operating system doesn't need to hard-code details of the machine. I mean, that's it, right there. That's the whole philosophy in a nutshell. Describe the hardware, don't hard-code.
And this is a really important distinction to make. A device tree is declarative. It's a blueprint. It says things like, hey, there's a serial port at this memory address, or over here is an I2C bus, and these are the chips attached to it. It's not telling the kernel what to do. It's not code. It's just data. It describes what's on the board, and the kernel's drivers then use that map to do their jobs.
And what's really cool is how simple the structure is. It's basically a family tree for all the parts on the board. You have a root node that represents the whole machine. Then you have child nodes for the big things, like the main chip, which then has its own kids, like a USB controller or a serial port. And each of these nodes has properties, little bits of data like a memory address or which interrupt line it uses.
Okay, so what does this actually look like in practice? Here's a little snippet from a real-world board. This is from a human-readable file called a device tree source. Now, the real magic here is that line that says compatible. That string tells Linux, hey, I am an NVIDIA Harmony board, and by the way, I'm based on the Tegra 20 chip. This one little string is the key that lets the kernel match the physical hardware to the right software drivers. Okay, so we've got this map, this blueprint, but how does Linux actually read it and use it to bring the whole system to life?
You can really break it down into 3 basic steps. First, the kernel has to identify the platform. It asks, what machine am I actually running on? Then comes configuration, where it figures out, okay, what resources do I have to work with? And finally, there's device population, where it goes, all right, what actual devices are on this board that I need to set up?
What's interesting is this whole process kicks off before Linux is even really fully running. The bootloader, that's the first little bit of code that runs, loads the Linux kernel and a compiled binary version of this device tree into memory. As the kernel wakes up, one of the very first things it does is look for that compatible string to figure out exactly what kind of machine it's on.
And this, right here, is the secret sauce. This is what makes it all work. Instead of the kernel having this massive, static, hard-coded list of every possible device it might ever encounter, it just takes a walk through the device tree. Every time it finds a node with a compatible property, it goes, aha, I know what this is, and it dynamically creates the right structures in memory and finds the driver that knows how to talk to it. It's this dynamic process that lets a single kernel file boot on thousands of different devices.
Okay, so if you've ever messed around with PCs, you might be thinking, hang on, this sounds a lot like ACPI. And you're not wrong. They both solve a similar problem, but they do it with 2 very different philosophies. So, let's break it down. Device tree, like we've been saying, is just data. It's a static map. That's pretty much all it is. And it's huge in the embedded world. ARM, RISC-V, you name it. Now, ACPI, which is what you'll find in pretty much every x86 PC and server, is a bit different.
It's not just data tables, it actually has little bits of code the OS can run for more complicated stuff, like power management. You could say Devicetree just tells the OS, here's the hardware, while ACPI says, here's the hardware, and here's some helper code to run it.
So let's zoom out a bit. What's the real impact of all this? It is seriously not an exaggeration to say that this simple data structure is one of the invisible foundations of the modern tech world.
So why should you care? Well, think about it. It lets hardware makers build new stuff without having to wait for the Linux kernel developers to catch up. It means we can have one single Linux kernel that supports this huge, diverse universe of devices, which is just a massive win. It truly is the unsung hero that makes the whole embedded Linux world go round, powering everything from Chromebooks and Android phones to all those little smart gadgets in our homes.
You know, the Devicetree was this brilliant, elegant solution to a massive problem of complexity. But technology never stands still, right? Our gadgets are only getting more powerful, more complex, and more connected every single day. And that leaves us with a really fascinating question to think about. What comes next? What will the next universal blueprint for hardware look like?